All right, so someone requested a little video on absorption. It's actually a lot simpler than you think. I'm sure most of you know. So, if buyers are lifting the offer and we don't continue higher, it's more than likely that there's a passive seller there taking all the contracts. And the same thing goes for the low. If sellers are hitting the bid and we can't break it, there's most likely a passive buyer there. So, one of the easiest ways to look at it is a delta footprint. So, here, these two 15 minutes, you can see each one of these lower ticks is on a 1 tick interval, had 1,000 negative delta. So, there was extreme selling here. But obviously, it was met with a passive buyer and we didn't break. The next candle is probably where you want to find your entry. Probably drop down to like a 1 minute. But then you can see looking right that this area was defended 3 times. So there's obviously a participant here actively participating and buying it up. Same thing goes for the highs when you see right here 1500, 700. Now this should have been the breakout. This candle should have closed bullish. Obviously this was open, high, low, closed. So anywhere in here is a good entry. I mean, even if you entered right above this wick, so if you entered 1550, you ran a 3-point stop, you'd have to open it up more. But obviously you'd want to get filled on the way down. And then it played for like 15 points. But the delta is one of the best ways to do it. On a 1 minute, usually I look for 1,000 or more delta in like a row. So like the same thing as I have here. But on a 1 minute, obviously there's not this much delta because there's not that much volume. So I would extend it and look for like negative 1,000 over however many 1 minutes. I'm going to show this example on NQ, but this is a perfect idea of how you can get in and scalp. So this is 5 minutes before close. We have extreme buying. In here. So if you add this up, just these 2 ticks is already over 2,000. Another 1,000, close to 1,000, then like 200 at the top. So this area is where you want to get your fill. So if you filled right here, this little wick up gave you a nice 8 points on ES. But you're going to see the same thing on the DOM. You're going to see aggressive buying hit and price is not going to move up. Like you're going to see abnormal size. So if we look, this is 218 or 1418. I said, looks like shorts can work here. Watch 5 minutes, stay below 66416. Some sellers there with size. ES DOM has to flip those. Super positive. So that is right here on this 1 minute candle, this one in between here. So I already saw this. It is short of 1,000 total, but still pretty positive. This whole candle was positive. 600, 100, and then this candle failed. It went 1 tick over 16, and then that was high of day. You can see we came down into that passive buyer that we just looked at. So this would be the example really quick. So NQ, the deltas are obviously way less. We don't have as much volume and as much high delta. But even here, it is 338 going into close here. So I have both DOMs up. You can see the positive delta. I believe this NQ is a 5 minute. So it's not a lot. This 1 tick is significant. I think this is per point though. Yeah, this is probably per point on NQ. So we have 460, 330, 89, 120, 102, 40 plus 30. So it's probably around or a little over 1,000 above or in these 4 to 5 points on NQ. So in my eyes, if this doesn't get revisited soon with strength, if it gets revisited at all, I would expect price to just go right through it. So obviously we can see the ask looks heavy, holding, no pulling. So I see that, and I see the bid pulling. So I see an opportunity to short. We have the end of the day volatility coming in. Obviously, this is, you can see, it's a demo. So I take my fill at 411, going for about 30 points. And another thing I like to watch is the total. So you can see it. NQ is already negative, 220 more asks than bids. Yes. And keep in mind, the only context for this entry was the delta at the high, and then the bid pulling. So I'm not going to show the whole DOM replay because I was actually doing something and I didn't sit here and refresh and all that. And obviously we're watching this on a replay. You can barely see the bottoms. But you'll see right now 1500 basically flat on NQ. Another thing, this candle that made the high closed almost completely flat delta. It closed as -5. It's like a huge indication that we might switch hands on the auction when we get a candle that closes very close to flat delta, and then you see the negative come in, -200, -210, whatever. It'd be easier if I had my ES template up as well, but so you can see now ES 560. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Back to 1,000. Not really doing much. 1,600 on ES total. See, we're getting somewhat of a bid here, retesting VWAP. NQ as well, trying to hold a bid. Okay, looks like we missed something here. Let's see. Good negative delta here, 100 on these 2 points, 100 each. ES still holding 1,000, just dropped like 400. Now 500 total. You can see we rejected VWAP there. Like both sides trading huge size because we're going into the close here. And like I said, it'd be a lot easier if it was refreshed to actually see. But you can see NQ basically goes straight to TP, a straight 30-point drop. It'd be easier if this was refreshed and recentered, but obviously the bid is pulling, ask heavy. ES actually flipped the total, finally negative 1,000. Trading ask. Fast forward a little bit, we're getting a bounce. Trying to come back up to VWAP. Still pulling. Ask has not really pulled at all. 500 total on ES. This 5 minute basically goes up and down. So it's still positive, 1,100 on ES. 1,200 now. We're into the last 5 minutes, 3:56 p.m. Came up through VWAP. This is a 5,000 volume chart. So you can see as we go into the close, the candles are printing much more often. We're trading a lot more volume, 2,000 more bids than asks right now. So it's 3:57. I'm going to let these 3 minutes play without voiceover. Make sure you watch the ES total. You can, like, it's just hard because it's not refreshed because I wasn't at my setup. So the markets are kind of hard to pay attention to, but you can still see what price does. All right, you can see now we're going to the last minute, 3:59. So ES really not trading lower. Like I said, it really does suck. You can't see nothing's refreshed or recentered. Maybe NQ will recenter after it goes off screen. And then there's the TP. Clean 30 points. And I accidentally left I had too many orders there. So it flipped me into buys. I mean, it's really easy to see on a higher time frame chart. But like when we have, I mean, this is obviously London overnight. When you have low delta, low volume at a higher low of a candle, it most likely doesn't mean anything. Like here, we see 1600, 2396. This next 30 minutes should trade right above it if buyers are not getting absorbed. It should be quick. So obviously this dropped us back down into this passive buyer. So I mean, my favorite way is just to look at it on the delta footprint with the DOM. Like here, this is extreme. Obviously, we're on a 30 minute, so we're looking at a lot more 1 minute candles, but still, this single tick had 53 negatives, 3,000. Like if this zone got retested again over here, that would be a really good entry. But I mean, if you guys really want to study it, record your DOM and your footprint, whatever footprint you use, even if it's a ladder footprint, and you're gonna see it on the DOM. You're gonna see aggressive size step in and basically just hit a wall. Like on ES, it should be like a four, like no more than 4 to 8 tick range, where price just stops and they just keep trying it, and then eventually it fails. And it's good to have delta total, because that one we were looking at where on NQ where the delta, the 5 minute closed at -7, whatever it was, -9, it basically closed flat. So obviously it was, going both ways, and then it closed flat, and then the auction kind of switched sides. So basically it, pretty simple.